Good evening, viewers, and welcome to day number 4 of the EU Contenders trials here on Monkey Bubble. I'm Big Hungry Phil. With me today is the wonderfully talented Kenobi to bring you today's games. Kenobi, how are you doing, and what have we got in store today?
I'm doing very good, Phil. Very excited to be here. We were talking about it a little bit before, but this is the first time you and I are actually going to be able to cast together, even knowing
Indeed.
each other for so long. So very excited about that, but very excited about this matchup that we have too, because there's stakes in this first matchup that we have. We have Morning Stars versus Dreadlords is going to be the match that we have first. And for Morning Stars, unfortunately for them, they are already knocked out of contention to get into Contenders. But for Dreadlords, this is a moment where they need to win this matchup. You need to win this matchup. They're in third currently with a 1-1 record. You win this matchup, you go to 2-1, and you're tied against Fox and Healy, who, surprise, surprise, they play tomorrow. So winning this puts everything in their hands. Losing this most likely going to knock them, or not most likely because they can still win tomorrow, but it's a very difficult then for them to have any chance of getting into Contenders.
It does make it a lot harder, but when we look at the comparative strength of these two teams, the scoreline in trials says a lot, I think, about what we can expect from this match. Morning Stars, as you mentioned, on that 0-2 record. Dreadlords 1-1 after 2 games played, and they put on a very good performance in their match yesterday. Proved to be very flexible in the options they can run. They ran the Genji poke, they ran a sort of heavy dive with both a Wrecking Ball and the Sombra. So they've got a couple of different styles here, and Morning Stars have just not looked that adaptable from what we've seen out of them. So this is looking like a done deal for Dreadlords unless Morning Stars have some extra gas in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, we can call a spade here for the audience. Dreadlords should be taking this, probably should be taking it in a 2-0, because from what I've seen from Morning Stars, looking at their VODs a little bit earlier this morning, they had some issues with their adaptation in terms of just the way that they adapt, because there's sometimes where they'll bring out anti-dive against a composition that is like Rush, right? Where you don't really want to have anti-dive versus Rush. So for Morning Stars, I'd like to see a little bit more adaptation, especially if they're going up against Dreadlords, where Dreadlords is a team that does play dive. That's when you can bring out the anti-dive, but I need to see then from Dreadlords their adaptation, how they're going to play. Obviously, they can still play the Genji poke, so that's totally fine for them. And then you go to Genji poke mirror at that point, which I still think Dreadlords would be an advantage.
It certainly looked like they had the upper hand of the match yesterday, running that Genji poke, but again, it comes down to that flexibility and just not looking like Morning Stars have that and ready to go. Looks like we've got our first map lined up. We're going to be starting on Busan here today, which feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here. It feels like one of the more flexible map sets for Control. It feels like each one of those 3 maps has its own style of play.
Yeah, it is definitely one of those maps. You are very correct on that, Phil. Not going to flame you this time. But we do have, on Busan, we do have the ability, like we've, on some of those, on the train station map, that the name is slipping my mind currently, but on that one you do have, I believe it's downtown. Downtown. I got it. I eventually got there.
Got there in the end.
Downtown, you can play dive. Obviously, there's a lot of high grounds to work around. So for Dreadlords, I think that's good for them. And that'd be, if we go there, I would wonder if Morning Stars plays their anti-dive. Then you have Mecha Base, one of those maps where it's just so enclosed, where you play mostly rush compositions in there. And then you have Sanctuary as your last one, where Widow is pretty much king on that map. So for the amount of ability that you can have to flex around to different compositions, I think makes Busan one of the most interesting maps in this game. However, currently, I still think you can play Genji poke on basically any of those maps. So maybe we don't see too much variation if these teams want to play it a little bit more close to their chest.
I think some of that is going to be down to just how confident Dreadlords feel as well. So I don't think we've actually seen any Widowmaker out of Dreadlords, certainly from the VODs that have had a chance to watch and from the games I've had chance to cast. So I do feel like we're just going to be seeing that familiar look of either the Genji poke or that heavy dive that they were running here. Monk Mudder, playing for the Ultimates, did have a bit of success with the Widowmaker on, it's my turn to forget one of the names of the maps in Busan, the temple level. Sanctuary. There we go. Yeah, it's confusing. There is another map set called Sanctum. Yeah, on Sanctuary. So yeah, you're right. It can have a lot of value there, but I just kind of feel like you have to be so confident that you can out-mechanic your opposing DPS, whether that's a rival Widow or an Ashe, that it's almost like a big confidence. Like it's a show that you are so dismissive of your opponent's abilities that you want to run that here and lose the extra utility that something like an Ashe would have.
Yeah, I mean, Widow, especially against double shield compositions, which you're most likely to see anyways on things like Sanctuary, it's very much a feast or famine, where if you're playing the Widowmaker well, you're probably going to be hitting a lot of headshots. You're taking really nice off angles and basically taking the sightlines away from the enemy team, and you're winning a lot of those duels. But if you're not getting those good sightlines, if you're not getting those picks, then Widowmaker doesn't really do anything. Whereas as Ashe, even if you aren't getting kills, you still offer utility in terms of just dynamite and Bob. Where Widowmaker is very much, I am going to out mechanic you, I am going to beat you. And if you're not confident playing the Widowmaker on that map, there's really no reason to play it, and then might as well just go and play Ashe, because Ashe is going to offer a little bit more to you than just mechanical skill and just getting kills.
It's weird to me, the sort of dichotomy that we have for Ashe as a character at the minute, because one of the few characters that can reliably get damage in past the shield, but also very heavily enabled by having that double shield protection in the first place. And it feels like a very strange confluence of circumstances that it enables both the offensive and the defensive Ashe. I struggle to think of a situation in a meta previously in Overwatch where we've had just quite that lineup.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too about the difference between Ashe and Widowmaker is that Ashe also has Bob. And Bob is a very, very good ultimate, just in terms of, especially with how fast you can charge it based on the fact that you're getting a lot of halt dynamites in a lot of these enclosed areas. So I think Bob, obviously for me, takes the cake a little bit over the Widowmaker sights.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we've been seeing Ashe a little bit more so than anything else. There are some times where we do see McCree, where, especially in these kind of metas, where if you're really going up against like a really good Genji player and you want to just make their life miserable, you just pick,
which we always do,
right? Because he's just going to slice and dice through the rest of your team, and you're just going to be like, well, I guess we lose. He has Dragon Blade, GG. But getting that McCree in there offers you that CC where you can flashbang the Genji as it comes in, hopefully blow them up, and hopefully don't, flashbang into a deflect and then you're deflected, because that's the worst. You don't want to be there. So that is also a little bit of a wrinkle that we could possibly see if one of these Genjis ends up popping off in a big way. Look for one of these teams to really just try and hinder the Genji and hamstring it by adding another form of CC into there.
One of the other options that we have seen from a couple of teams is instead of running the Ashe or the Widowmaker, we have seen occasionally people running the Tracer here. Not going quite for that full dive, still sticking with the double shield, but just having that extra mobility on the field. How do you rate that as a composition in the current meta?
I don't think it's better necessarily than the Genji, because I think Genji is in such a strong position. I think if you have a very strong Tracer player, and this is something actually Krusty, the coach of the San Francisco Shock, talked about with the during the Summer Showdown recently after they lost in the semifinals, that they believed so much in Striker to be that good Tracer player that they were like, okay, we're just going to forego the Genji pretty much completely. We think we can win just by the virtue of having a very good Tracer player like Strikers. So I think if you have confidence in your Tracer's ability to pop off and to carry and to stay alive and get that poke damage in, then I think it's definitely possible for you to go ahead and run that. But I think in most options, I think the Genji just offers so much more in terms of the ability to pump out damage, whereas Tracer has to play a little bit more carefully, especially because Brigitte doesn't have armor pack anymore in Overheal, right? She doesn't give the Tracer the ability to just survive for a long time, whereas Genji does have 50 extra health that he can get in, get out, and have a little more survivability.
Indeed. It's kind of a strange situation as well, where maybe strange is the wrong word. It's an interesting situation where you have your pick depends sort of 50% on whether or not you have the mechanical skill and 50% on how good your hero of choice is. So, if you've got a Genji that is, 100 out of 100 as a player and 100 and 100 as a character themselves, then great, you've got that 200 score hero. If you've got an 80 score player and a 100 score Genji, you've only got that 180, and it swaps with the player and the character as well. So it is a lot down to just having that faith in the mechanical ability of your player if they think they've got that better pick, that niche pick to take over. But guys, just to give you a little bit of an update, we are currently having some connectivity issues with some of our players, so we're just holding on a little while we wait for these guys to get into the lobby. But hopefully this is going to be sorted quickly. We should be able to bring the game to you. But Kenobi, do you know what? It's getting on for 10 minutes of stall. And
yeah, they don't want to hear us talk anymore.
No, they don't. They want the game. They want the game.
They sure do. I think it's a good time for a break, Phil. I think we've over talked a little bit too much.
A little bit. Yeah. It's I don't know about you. I'm running completely on empty here, but it looks like we are starting to get people back into the lobby, just waiting from word on our producer as to whether we're ready to go in, or whether we're going to be waiting for these people whilst on camera still. So, Kenobi, you're obviously an NA native. You notice
Mhm.
any big differences between the playstyles in NA and EU over the course of Contenders trials?
The thing that I noticed is the variation actually, because a lot of the NA teams, from what I've seen actually, in front of what I've casted, was just a lot of Genji and a lot of Genji poke, which is just the standard composition. We did see a little variation with the GT dive, but the thing that I would like to see a little bit more of in EU is a little bit more of the standard. I like
Mm,
standard, and I am very vanilla, but that's the
yeah.
difference, is that I think there's a lot more variation in EU than there is in NA.
Okay. Well, guys, look, we've just had word that we're going to throw to a quick break while we figure out where our players have gone. So please don't go too far, because with any luck, we'll be back inside the next couple of minutes. Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry for the delay, but we're back and we are ready to kick things off here on Busan in Mecha Base, Morning Stars versus Dreadlords. And to remind you of the stakes, Dreadlords, they've got to get that W here today if they really want to up their chances of securing that Contenders slot. Kenobi, what do we think? What do we got to look forward to in this match?
I think, again, like what we were talking about is we're probably going to see mostly the Genji poke. This match specifically on Mecha Base would be the one time where I think we could possibly see something like the rush compositions, but based on what everyone is holding out right now, it looks more poke-esque from both of them. The only difference, Phil, is that we are going to have the Mei from Morning Stars instead of the Genji, so we're going to try and use those walls to circumvent around what the Genji wants.
Looks like the Morning Stars were expecting to meet the Dreadlords coming towards them. Instead, it is a big old rotation across the high ground of the two teams now sniping at each other from across the distance. Of course, Fëanor's going to really want to close the gap to capitalize on those halt and dash combos, but he's not going to get the chances. Q takes him down first off in the fight. That's first blood over the Morning Stars. Can they convert that into a win? That is a ridiculously early amplification matrix out from Source, and it's allowed Taz to get the equalizer, taking Adnor out of the fight. And we should be getting Fëanor back into this fairly shortly, but for now, with the point still not unlocked, we're looking for maybe another kill on the board, which Fëanor on his return, but geez, we've got the hooks in as well. Looks like the kills here might be going for Dreadlords.
That was a fight and a half of Overwatch that we just saw there, Phil. I mean, a ridiculously fast amplification matrix from Sauce, and then a really fast gravitic flux from Q as well. But none of it ends up mattering for Morning Stars as they lose with the gravitic flux advantage, and now Dreadlords is in a position where they have a pretty hefty advantage. Cloud is going to have the rally. Adnar very far away from this, sustain in the favor of Dreadlords.
Amplification matrix to start things out, and Cookie puts it to good use, taking Arca out of the fight, who very nearly had the Bob ready to go. Cookie with the second task now down. Adnar finds Fëanor, and just on the back of that one amplification matrix from Cubus, they flip this incredibly quickly, Kenobi.
I mean, even if you do have the advantage with the rally, like I said, it doesn't matter if someone on the other side has that window and just bursts you down before the rally can really stack up the armor onto you. So good heads-up play from Morning Stars at the start of that. But we have a lot of check marks on the field right now, Phil. That means that the next fight probably going to have a lot of particle effects coming down. Biggest one, I think, is the Blade coming out from Fëanor. We'll see what they can do. It's one of the most important ultimates in the meta right now.
Yeah, won't have the supercharger to go with it just yet, so maybe we see a bit of a dry push here from Dreadlords to get that on the field, because of course they are going to have to go through Adnor's rally armor at some point soon. And I'm looking at these check marks and thinking, really, Morning Stars have got a couple of win conditions here. That's going to be the Blizzard out and Pure Irish taken out, Frozen focused down, and with the off tank taken out of the fight, Dreadlords probably not going to want to take this too much further. Bit of aggression from Morning Stars, and we get the Bob out from Arca as well. Gravitic Flux. Fëanor goes down in the middle of the Blade. Kookaburra able to take him out. We'll see Kookaburra's Bob taken out here as well. It's going to be up to Pure Irish to try and find something, anything with this Flux, and he comes up in a big way. There's the double, and Dreadlords able to surge their way back to the choke and look to try and retake this point. Pure Irish is going to go down here, so Morning Stars not giving this up without a fight. Starting to look like the numbers are there for the Dreadlords to win this one.
Dreadlords finally are going to take this field, but all things considered for Morning Stars, a pretty decent stall for them. They got it all the way to about that 68% mark and forced out a lot of ultimate from Dreadlords, all things considered, and they're not done stalling.
Wow, well, looks like they weren't quite able to get that out, but it did trigger Cloud's rally, so they're not going to have that in the next fight. So these cleanup kills here, not really doing too much for the Dreadlords in terms of economy.
Yeah, Dreadlords' economy right now is pretty much in shambles, all things considered. There, Phil. I mean, if you look at across the board, tank ultimates aren't going to be anywhere near as close, and with the percentage ticking up in the point that it is now, Dreadlords might not even get another chance to have another ultimate rotation, so Morning Stars much in the advantage right here as we come to this next fight.
Another amplification matrix. It went really well for them last time, and Kookaburra was going to lead off with the Bob here as well. Looks like we didn't get too much presence there from the Bob. And Dreadlords able to just kite their way away from a lot of that incoming damage. They're going to have to move to the point at some point. Otherwise, this is going to flip right back over to Morning Stars, who now have the point, and they've got the big defensive advantage. No ults available here for the Dreadlords except the amplification matrix.
This amplification matrix has to be huge here from Sauce. It's on the high ground.
Yeah, it gives them the angle down, but it looks like Morningstar is able to make themselves scarce. Can't find any value with that amplification matrix. See if the Bob can find any more value as Arca sends him running into the back line, and it'll cause enough chaos for Task to be able to do the damage in. Now both supports are off the table for Morningstars, and it is a big opening for Dreadlords. Shikari going down. A scant few percent from the Blizzard is a huge pick here. It's 99 to 72, and Dreadlords look posed to take the flip. Last fight territory, Kenobi.
It is going to be the last fight that we're going to have here, Phil, and the thing that is most important that you have to look out for are the ultimates from the Morningstars. Again, they have the advantage with the rally. They can play in very aggressively. Blizzard as well. Dreadlords has to play so carefully around all of these ultimates from Morningstars or they're going to lose Mecha Base.
And they've got the rally to start things off, which means that Feanor can't really get too much done with that Dragon Strike. Will dash his way out of the Gravitic Flux, so that's one ult committed already. That didn't go too well for them, but Shikari is able to find Arca, and they get the flip. It's 99 to 97, with the Blizzard on the point here as well. So hard for Feanor to get anywhere close enough to make anything happen with this play, and Morningstar's looking set to take the first point on Busan.
Too many ultimates from Morningstars for Dreadlords to deal with, and it's going to be Morningstars taking this sub-map, Phil, after just a few more stragglers get on this point. It's just a lonely Tracer. Arca can't do much. Task is going to come here. Shouldn't really matter too much.
No, it was a valiant attempt at a stall, but there's really only so much you can do when there are 6 of the enemy team to your 1, whatever the heck you're running to stall the points out.
And the thing that was weird for me, that entire sub-map, was just the throwing away of ultimate economy. I think in a lot of those fights where it was like Dreadlords was throwing all their ultimates in very expensive fights, not getting value. Same with Morningstars, did it a little bit too often as well. But Morningstars did it a lot less, which was the thing that I think won them that sub-map at least. And for Dreadlords, a little bit scary coming out from them on that first map. This, like we said, was a match that we should have seen them win and win relatively easily. But right now, off that first sub-map, looking a little bit shaky. Maybe the nerves getting to Dreadlords slightly.
It's looking a little scary for us as well. We were talking how this is eminently winnable for Dreadlords, and we may have to eat crow here if Morningstars keep performing like this. But as we move into Sanctuary, we've got the full-on mirror matchup this time.
So no differences, no maze, just mirror versus mirror. So I'm going to be looking out for, Phil, these Genji players between Feanor and Shikari. Who's going to get that blade first? Who's going to get the most amount of value from those halts, from those dashes? We'll see what happens.
Looks to get a slightly more impactful TNT out for Kukabao. 30% of the way to that bubble already, and Adnor is able to find Task, and with the main tank down, the rest of Dreadlords just crumble around them like so much cheap cracker.
And you can already see, like when I was talking about before, the Genji blade difference right now for Shikari. He's at 75%, Feanor only at 50%. So in this next fight, Shikari is going to have that Dragon Blade. And as we know, Phil, Dragon Blade, one of those abilities and one of those ultimates that, if used correctly, can just win you fights by itself. And then you can continue to circulate the rest of your ultimate economy alongside of it. So Morningstar's in the driver's seat completely here against Dreadlords.
That's right, Dreadlord's going to be looking to do something in the neutral here before that gets on board. Won't quite get the TNT combo with the Hulk, thanks to an excellent shield coming out from WeQ, who is getting very close to having this Flux online and ready to go as we round the 1/3 capture mark. Arca now on the high ground with the amplification matrix. Morningstars doing a great job of getting out of the way of that incoming damage, and a lot of that absorbed by WeQ. And now there are retaliatory ults available for the Morningstars. Going to round things out with the amplification matrix. Flux as well, only able to get 2, and just getting that immortality field down in time. But now that it's gone, Shikari can pull out the sword and start to slice and dice. Arca takes him down mid. Oh, we will see kills starting to come through from Kukabao, though. Finds 1 with the primary fire, 1 with the Bob, a second onto Arca, and we're rounding 70% here, and Morningstars still in control now.
They're still in control, but Phil, unfortunately for them, their ultimate economy, very expensive fight in that last fight. They used a lot of stuff. They are not going to have a lot of it for this next fight, which Dreadlords, if you look at their ultimate economy, much more in favor for them. The way that they win this is off of the back of a really clutch play. Cookie has to get this supercharger in time if they want to even have a chance to win this fight. If I were them, I would just try and force out some ultimates and then just take the fight loss.
Here's how things start out, though, with Cloud popping the rally, buys a little more confidence from the team, and that's where it starts off. Feanor, with the added invulnerability of the armor, can just go to town with the blade, finds the double Cloud 1 on the back, and there's the dash reset at 99 to 0. They get the win, but now they've got to play this pixel perfect to win out the submap.
And for them, Dreadlords in that last fight, I really appreciate the patience that they used for some of their ultimates, right? Because Pure Irish definitely could have fluxed if he thought that fight needed to be won right then and there, but they don't, and they're able to keep it for this next fight, so they have something to stop the bleeding, and their ultimate economy isn't completely in the dumpster, because Morningstars is coming back, and their ultimate economy is now in the advantage here, pushing through with that supercharger. A lot of amplification going to be available for Morningstars here in this fight. They can play it slowly. They have the time. They just need to find their perfect engage.
This is like a spicy amplification matrix from Source covers Morningstars as they try and make the rotation into the structure on the right-hand side. Not going to find too much value, but does buy them just that little more time on the point. And there's the flux to start things off now for Morningstars. Won't find too much, but Shikari with the follow-through finds the dash. Pure Irish, Cloud, Arca, all down in the blink of an eye. And Morningstars looking to round out this fight and potentially take the entire sub-map.
Morningstars are going to take the first map in what I would call Phil, what I would call an upset already from what I just saw in that first map. Morningstars looking so much better than we initially had thought they was. I mean, this is a team that has lost the first two matchups, and we thought Dreadlords, the way that they've looked previously, they were going to take this relatively easily, but now they're in a position where their contenders and their contenders' life could be on the line here.
It really could. You know, I spent some time this morning writing a big, long article about who I thought was going to win this and what they had to do. And in none of my figuring did I have Morningstars even have Dreadlords giving up a single map to Morningstars. So this is really worrying for Dreadlords. And you've got to wonder what's gone wrong here, because this is not the team that we saw playing yesterday. This is looking very, very shaky from them. And I wonder if maybe they're in their heads here.
I wonder if the pressure, again, might be something that obviously could play a factor here, because this is almost a must-win scenario for them, because if tomorrow, then they would have to play Vox and Healy, and they'd be down, and then it would be a map differential type of thing, because then they'd have to be 2-2. It's a very difficult situation right now for the Dreadlords where they are at, and I wonder if now they maybe move over towards the dive composition, because we talked about that a little bit, where they do have a dive composition in their back pocket that has looked a little bit better. Especially, I mean, based on what I saw in the VODs, their dive looks a lot better than what I just saw them play for the Genji poke. The Genji poke did not look great for them whatsoever. I mean, Morningstars, just by the way that they were comboing their dynamites and their halts with the, with the Genji blade, Genji dash rather, as well. It just looked so much more clean from Morningstars than it did for Dreadlords. And for Dreadlords, I'm a little bit worried for them right now.
They've really got to find some extra gas in the tank if they want to take this to the map winner. They're already going to have to play another 2 maps to take the W, and we're loading into our next one just now. Looks like we're going to be going to Route 66, which we did see Dreadlords play yesterday, and they played this very well against what was quite an unusual setup for the opposing team on defense, holding all the way back on that furthest ledge, past Big O's. They found a way to make that dive work at composition. So we know that Dreadlords have this ability to outthink and to adapt. So I really want to see them bring it out here, because it was just so lackluster and so predictable in the last round that, Kenobi, I want my match. I want this to be a close one. I don't want Morningstars just to ruffle stomp them.
Yeah, I think you actually hit a really good point, is that it looked a little bit shaky in the sense that Morningstars were playing the aggressor, right? They were being more proactive with a lot of their ultimate choices. It seemed like Dreadlords were just waiting, standing on ceremony for the perfect moment, whereas Morningstars were just like, okay, we're just going to go in, we're going to win this fight, we have an ultimate that we can use and play aggressively and force them onto the back foot. I really liked what I saw from Morningstars and just their proactivity rather than Dreadlords' reactivity. And now this is what I expected from Dreadlords a little bit more, is dive, especially on this map where you can play the dive and it does have a little bit more value with the high grounds that you can jump around with that Winston. I think this offers a little bit more to them. Morningstars, though, Phil, we do have to mention that they do have an anti-dive composition in their back pocket. And when that comes out, how is Dreadlords going to react? That's what I'm going to be looking out for.
Well, here's the thing, though. If Dreadlords can make this work out on that first push, we're not going to see that anti-dive until right towards the end of this, given that they're set up on Big Earl. So not much chance of a recontest by holding this far back. This is all going to hinge on Feanor, though. And Feanor has had kind of a rocky Sombra, one really good game, one really poor game. He needs to set this up perfectly and get this EMP quickly if he wants to make this happen. So far, no real engagement from either team, though.
They're just playing it very slow, waiting to see if Feanor can get into the backline, maybe get a hack onto someone like the Sigma, get a hack onto the Baptiste as well, but they're still pushing cart, so they are gaining some advantage here, Phil, just by the virtue of sitting on this card and sitting on this payload.
This is not the contest that I was expecting from Morningstars. You can contest this cart by standing on the edge. Instead, they're opting just to let it wrap around. Feynor will get the hack through onto Shikari, but Shikari already getting close to 50% ready on this ultimate. And with the dash through onto Source, that's just that little bit closer. Feynor, though, still lacking down at 30%. Kukubao on the low ground, up onto the high ground again, sadly making themselves a target for Feynor, who takes them out of the fight. And there's the hack through onto Shikari, who is getting so close to this Dragon Blade. He's not going to need it here because whilst the distraction of Shikari on the ground was working out, the rest of the team were able to capitalize, surround, and take out the Dreadlords.
An absolutely insane halt there from Cookie. Knows that everyone is clumped up in that area. Pure Irish doesn't have the defense matrix ready to eat that. And then a nice halt right into a Dragon Slice from the Genji, which gets him about 60, almost gets him towards that 60% towards that ultimate, and then farms the rest of the Dragon Blade at the end of the fight. So Dragon Blade available now for Morningstars. Nothing on Dreadlords can stop it besides Feynor getting a hack or getting the CMP.
You know, we went from watching Morningstars being the aggressors of the previous map to being really passive but incredibly defensive here. They've not given up a centimetre of control of this high ground until they absolutely have to. This is where the rubber's going to meet the road, though. Shikari with the blade out, finds the DMX, finds the kill onto Cloud, looking for a little more value, but will get hacked out. But it is enough for them to secure the defense here.
Oh, no.
Pulse bomb out from Arca early into the waiting kinetic grasp of WeQ. Source finds one on the back end of the fight, but that is as far as that one goes.
Phil, Dreadlords committed ults to that. They committed ults. They committed the pulse bomb. They committed the coalescence as well, and the primal rage in a fight that was almost surely lost for them. I don't know about that decision whatsoever, because Morningstar's now in the advantage completely when it comes to that ultimate economy. Feynor has to hit a huge EMP, or this fight's going to be a disaster.
Oh, hopefully they don't commit it. They do commit it, and they interrupt the gravitic flux, so there's no kills on the back of the flux, but it won't be enough to save Task, who falls down incredibly early. So Feynor, having spent nearly 2 minutes generating that EMP, finds almost no value with it, and now it's got to be panic stations for Dreadlords. They've not got much time.
Only 1 minute left is all they've got, Phil, and they're diving into a supercharger, which is one of those ultimates that is the hardest thing to dive into. Just the damage amplification is going to be so much from them, and this is looking dastardly for them. I don't think they are going to have any chance unless the sound barrier is huge from Cloud to win this, or Pure Irish with a huge bomb.
Going to be supercharged to start things off, and a massive hold and a lot of follow-through damage takes Task out of the fight. We need a hard, fast reset here from Dreadlords to give them one more round through this. There's the hack. It looks like we're not going to get it. We're going to attempt to stall this out that little bit longer. Feynor TPing out of the fight for now. Under 20 seconds remaining, and Pure Irish is only just going to be respawning with 10 seconds on the clock.
This is the last chance saloon for Dreadlords here, or else they're going to get full held. Dragon Blade available for Shikari. Luckily enough for Dreadlords, support ultimates are available to negate the damage coming out from this blade.
There's a tag onto the cart from Task. Pure Irish will have the self-destruct here, but a lot of shields to find value through that. Shikari with the blade ready to go, and here's the primal rage from Task, looking to just disrupt them, keep them out of the range of the cart for now, but the self-destruct goes wide. They were banking on kills from that, and they can't find them. Sound barrier wasn't enough to save Cloud, and Shikari goes fishing with the sword. Can't find too much. The sound barrier from Cloud enough to keep the rest of his team alive. Big numbers advantage now for Morningstars, especially with that Bob on the field. The whip shot takes Arca out, and that is it. We're going to see a last few contests here on the cart, but we're not getting anywhere close to a full 6-man recontest here, and Dreadlords held before point A.
Dreadlords, I mean, coming in like a house, or well, Morningstar's coming in like a house of fire there, Phil, and I mean, we're about to eat a lot of crow, a lot of it.
A lot of feathers in our teeth.
Yeah, it is going to be. I mean, it is still holdable. I mean, obviously you can get the fuller hold. It is a possibility, but the way that Dreadlords are playing, and just the sacking of their ultimate economy, Task is dying first every single fight. It feels like it just doesn't look as coordinated as as crispy as I'm used to seeing the dives from Dreadlord. This doesn't seem like the same team. Something has happened to them. I don't know what it is, but it is not the same team that we've been seeing in these past couple of days in Contenders trials.
And I'm kind of happy that we got Feynor back on the Genji here, because honestly, Sombra just was not having the impact that you really want your Sombra to be having. And it's almost like every other match that I get to see Feynor he gets either the bad Sombra or the good Sombra. And I feel like the entirety of this composition depends on which pocket he reaches into and which Sombra he comes out in. Hopefully on the Genji you have a little more luck here.
It's just a coin flip basically is what you're telling me there. It's either
like.
Yeah, it's the good Sombra or the bad Sombra. Sombra is in a little bit of a bad position, I would say, currently in this meta, so it is difficult, but that EMP, I mean, got realistically no value when it came out, and I didn't see any insane hacks that he was getting to really negate anything coming out from the Morningstar's composition, so they're going back to what is the standard meta currently with the Genji poke, and if it's anything like Control, Phil, I'm worried for Dreadlords' sake.
Me too, and honestly, given that they're holding all the way back on big O's, I understand the power that this defensive position has, but you're giving up so much space, you are basically almost guaranteeing yourself one lost team fight. If you lose this first team fight, that's it, over and done. You've given up the entirety of points. Still, plenty of time available, plenty of space available here for the Dreadlords. We'll see Morningstar start to make a rotation up onto the high ground, and in fact, in comes Kuki up slow and steady with the Orisa onto the high ground, takes a huge amount of space, takes over the defensive positioning, and knocks Task out of the equation. Now only 5 of the Dreadlords left in the fight, and they are playing incredibly split right now, and as Source and Arca goes down, it looks like that big old serving of Crow is on its way to us, Kenobi, because I don't see the Dreadlords putting much more of a hold on this.
They get one last chance here because of how slow the card is going to move here, Phil. Task is going to come back, going to be able to touch, but as you mentioned, Dragon Blade available. Shikari can just slice and dice through the enemy team and win this fight just like that.
Oh, wow, what a
whip
coach
shot.
shotgun. Almost gets them out of the way, but Task, whilst boot back, takes a huge amount of damage. We'll get the contest going, but now it is going to be 5v6, and Fëanor pulls out the blade and gets a mouthful of TNT for his trouble, and the rest of Morningstars are going to clean up, and oh boy, Kenobi, who saw this one coming?
Certainly not us.
No,
neither of
not at
us
all.
saw this coming. Not at all. Morningstars have to get to play spoiler against Dreadlords, and my goodness, it was just a complete and utter annihilation for those first 2 maps. This feels like it ended so quickly, and this is not the Dreadlords that we had seen previous. This is a completely different Dreadlords, and also a completely different Morningstars, if I'm being honest. This is just... what happened to Dreadlords?
It's really difficult to say. You know, it's one of these situations where you almost want to be interviewing a player from the losing side to figure out what exactly went wrong. We are going to get to interview somebody from the winning side to figure out where they found all this extra momentum from, given what we've seen from them previously. So looking forward to figuring out who it is we're going to get to talk to. But yeah, Dreadlords just almost didn't show up today. It wasn't even particularly close. Morningstars kind of made that look easy.
Very easy. You full hold on. You won 2-0 on Control. You full hold them on Route 66, and you. I mean, to be honest as well, the rotation that they made from Morningstars to go on to around the back of the point on top of the girls, I actually think that's so smart because they know they just have to get kills. They don't have to push the cart really. If they get a couple of kills in that area, even if they trade, they still have respawn advantage. So I think the way that Morningstars is playing was just so smart in general that Dreadlords, I think, they just got shell-shocked. They didn't look like they had gotten into the server at all.
It's really unfortunate, but I can understand the surprise of suddenly turning around and finding the enemy Orisa fortified, clumping her way up the stairs towards you. Might be a little bit of a surprise.
Little bit. No one expects the charging Orisa from behind. Like, no one expects the flanking Orisa. No one expects the flanking Ashe, things like that. I mean, but all credit, again, to Morningstars. They really didn't have anything to play for it, Phil. That's the other thing, is they already have to go to trials next month. They had nothing to play for here besides their pride. They take a very clean 2-0 against Dreadlords and play spoiler against their chances at getting into Contenders.
It's suddenly a lot harder for Dreadlords to make that through, but it looks like we just about have our interview ready to go. And speaking of fortified Orisas clumping their way up the stairs, looks like we're going to be getting to talk to Kuki here just as soon as we've got them into our lobby. And in fact, speak of the devil, Kuki, hi, welcome,
hi.
Congratulations. I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but that was a bit of an upset from you guys. Congratulations.
Thank you. It definitely was like.
Oh, good. It's not just us. It's you.
Okay,
were surprised by this too.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely surprised as well.
So talk us through what happened there, because you know the predictions were in favor of Dreadlords here. What went right for you? What went wrong for those guys?
Honestly, I think our initial nervousness was gone. Like, we had 5 people, we never played trials before, and we were like super nervous, not performing like we were in scrims, for example. And like yesterday, Cuckoo Bow, like he told to us that we should stop playing like we're scared. Like we should actually just play our game, and that helped a lot. I feel like we played our game today, and we played a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly looked like it there when we were watching you guys. I mean, we were shocked in the first 2-0, and then the full hold on 66 as well. Can you talk us a little bit through the comms that were going through when you guys were full holding, and then when you make that rotation up on top of the girls behind him, what was going through the mind of you guys at that time?
Like we were trying to keep us calm all the time. Like some people scream for a few seconds sometimes, and then others said, "Okay, calm down, guys. It's not won yet." And like when we did that rotation, like we did that in scrims before. We practiced that, and like we abused that they had like split angles, and we wanted to take the top like 6 against 3 basically. That's basically what got us like a super good position.
Great. So that was a really standout performance. We're still recovering from the shell shock, Cookie, but once again, congratulations. Take this time to go and celebrate with your new teammates, and hopefully we'll see an even stronger performance for you when we get back into next month's Contenders trials. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how much extra time in the oven can improve you guys. Anything you'd like to say? Anyone you'd like to thank before we say goodbye and throw it to a break?
Shout out to my teammates and all my German friends, Edis, Refit, and the others. They were always supporting me while I was feeling like down and scared of playing Contenders trials for the first time. So,
hey, I mean, your halts are nuts. So like, don't be scared anymore. You had some nutty halts. You had some really good halts there. I'm sure Hikari was like, ooh, I can get 60% off of my pay every single time.
Thank you, man.
Thank you again, Cookie, for playing today and for coming to talk to us. And guys watching at home, we're going to throw it to a short break when we get our next team into the lobby. But please don't go too far, because we're going to be back with Sheer Cold against Raw in hopefully just a few minutes. welcome back everybody. Konobi and I have now taken a minute to pick our jaws up off the floor and put them back in their usual places. After that incredibly surprising 2-0 from Samsung Morningstars over Dreadlords, and we're back ready to bring you the next game, which is going to be Raw Esports up against Sheer Cold. So Konobi, what are the stakes here?
Well, Sheer Cold is in a 3-0 spot right now. They are at the top of the group after winning yesterday, and if they win this match, it is basically guaranteed for them that they are going to go through 2 contenders proper at the end of the month. Whereas for Raw Esports, they're at a 2-1 record, and this Group B is actually very close, Phil, all things in general. So this is kind of must win for them if they want to get towards the top of the pack. They need to beat Sheer Cold, who is at the top right now.
I think there are a couple of situations where we see Sheer Cold in competition for that second place spot rather than that first place spot, which, either way, you're up into Contenders, and that's a win for all concerned. Slightly less likely, Raw Esports, a win here and a convincing win here puts them back into contention with the remainder of this group, with Avoided and Angry Titans for that second place spot. So yeah, this is a very tight group with a lot pending on pretty much every game in the series here. Sheer Cold, arguably, they're having a better overall performance than Raw Esports, I think it's fair to say.
I mean, yeah, they are undefeated, so they do have that feather in their cap, and I think just the way that they've looked so far in general, just from the play that they've had, makes me believe that they are deserving of the ability to be in that first position of the group. So I think for Sheer Cold, this should be a win for them, all things considered. We said that last time, and then we're still picking the crow feathers out of our teeth. But I think this one I'm a little bit more, I would say I'm a little bit more fully on. But I said that for the last one too, so I don't know. Maybe I'm still not sure exactly, Phil, what is happening after that first game.
Well, everybody saw our predictions and thought, well, we're just going to make this explicitly difficult for anybody that made a prediction and just really show them up as complete know-nothings. I gotta say though, Konobi, I have a bit of a soft spot here for Raw because they've got players that I'm used to seeing in other teams and other tournaments. Eli is a regular player in a UK local tournament that I regularly cast. Admiral Raptor and Zytor were for various lengths of times on Clockwork Vendetta. So I've got a bit of hope for these guys just based on emotion, if nothing else.
And I mean, they are also an underdog. Everyone loves the underdog story, so I think Roar is a little bit of an underdog here. And for Sheer Cold, this, again, they should really win this matchup, and what we're going to be seeing from both of these teams is going to be mostly, I think, the Genji Poe composition that's taken over the meta currently. I don't see a lot of switching being involved. There is the possibility, like we're seeing Eli right now, he's going to be on the Mei, so going to be able to use those walls to section off members of Sheer Cold and get some quick picks at the start of these fights.
Ooh, well, Grafton's going to get the first pick, though. Zytor taken down right away. Big wall comes out from Eli, but he can't. Will just secure the kill, and Alex and Backbone go down. So even Stevens right now for the members alive for both teams. Eli takes a bit of damage, has to pop back into the block and ready to go. And now all of Raw Esports kind of playing back a little bit, want to start to close the distance. The first cap is going to go over to Sheer Cold. But now with Timo back on the ball, they're in a really good position to have a quick recontest and a quick recap.
And Alex is also back on the ball as well, so wall versus ball right here on the point. It's a scrappy fight, Phil.
This is incredibly scrappy, but if you are Sheer Cold, you don't mind dragging this out just that little bit longer. Raw, however, have managed to get a few kills on the board and started to bring this back a little ways. Zytor's going to go down at Admiral Raptor, completely unconcerned by that amplification matrix. Ducking and diving all around it will help secure kills. And now, big numbers advantage for Raw Esports. Sheer Cold looking to have been knocked off the point the second they can get rid of this pesky speedy Wrecking Ball.
The Wrecking Ball is going to go down. Oh. They're still here.
And go back in.
No, they are not stopping anytime soon.
They want as much capture here as they can. Refid stalling out in time for the Immortality people to come in and buy them a couple more seconds. 42% mostly on Stagger there.
I mean, getting 42% is super good for them. And the other thing that is in their advantage right here is Timo was the one that switched to the Wrecking Ball, who was on the Orisa. And for the other team, for Sheer Cold, it was Alex. So that means that Shade is able to keep his Supercharger, and Supercharger is a much better ultimate than Minefield.
Here's how it starts out. We've got the Supercharger Bob combo. Looks like he might have gone a little bit too far. Will get booped back by Timo. No ultimates expand just yet, but out comes the Dragon Blade from Backbone. Found Zytor, looking to get that second slash onto the Wrecking Ball, takes him out, and very quickly, Raw Esports crumble under the pressure of the blade.
And here for Roar, I actually like to see Teemo completely forego the entirety of the minefield, which is good. This is very good. Minefield is not going to get a ton of value, especially when you're foregoing it for just having the ability to have an Orisa that can halt for your Dynamites, that can halt for your Sigma. Orisa's just a better pick here, so really like that coming out from them. And they have their DPS ultimates that can win them this next fight, mainly the Blizzard. That's the one you're going to be looking out for, Phil. Can that Blizzard get a lot of value? Sheercold has to play around this a bit safer.
We're going to see Fuki lead things off with the Bob. Eli with the sound barrier to protect him casually. Throws in the Blizzard, starting to freeze them all up, and the rest of Raw able to just get in and completely sweep Sheercold off the point. 2 ults for a convincing fight wins. Pretty good value, Kenobi.
Very well played there from Roar Esports, all things considered. Using the Bob as an entryway, forcing out some of those important cooldowns, and then off the back of that, you use the Blizzard. Well played coming out from them. And Sheercold, unfortunately for them, weren't able to farm up a lot of ultimates in that fight because it didn't last as long as they would have liked. So they're gonna have to play this a little bit slowly. They can maybe try and engage here with the amplification matrix and force out some important ultimates from Roar Esports in the meantime.
I mean, the thing is, given where Raw are currently playing, if you lose it, where do you even put... Well, that's the answer. That's where you put the amplification matrix up on the high ground. But Raw able to just almost casually sidestep that. But it buys the space for Sheercold to start to get back into this fight. And they will take Teemo out of the fight first off with the main tank down. Things get a lot harder now for Raw Esports. We'll get punched back to Eli, finding Lusa. Rally now over for Admiral Raptor, but still in play for the rest of the team, so a lot of survivability available. Here's the Flux coming out, but he gets frozen out of it, can't complete it, and Admiral Raptor swinging away, takes Alex out of the fight. Backbone with the blade will get stunned, able to find one, but not before Admiral Raptor takes their own Brig out of the fight. This is looking like it could be the recap here for Raw Esports. If you're Sheercold, you don't want to keep this contest going too long.
Especially with Backbone going down, you lose a lot of that DPS, and now they have to leave, Phil, because it's going to be last fight territory for both of these teams. And Sheercold committed a few ultimates in that fight that I don't think they would have wanted to if they knew that it was going to be the last fight for the next one, because Roar are coming up on a lot of their important ones as well. Realistically, for Sheercold here, and you can see Alex has switched over to the D.Va, they have to eat this Blizzard from Eli. They know they have it. It has to be their win condition.
Here's how we start things off. The Bob with the Supercharger, the Super Bob, if you will. Zeit on the high ground, went for the cheeky play with the amplification matrix, but instead gets sniped off the high ground by Gratham. And as Backbone knocks down out of the fight, it's going to be down to whether or not Eli can find the value with this Blizzard. And Shade is kept alive through all of that. The only player that was frozen up. This is looking great for Sheercold on the recontest. We've got Teemo tagging back in on the ball to keep this going, but there's the flip. And now the huge numbers advantage for Sheercold is going to make this incredibly difficult. Even with the minefield for Teemo, it's not going to find the kills it needs. There's too much open space, and that's going to take us to 1-0 on the submap for Sheercold.
I am so in love, Phil, with the switch that Sheercold made there to put Alex on the D.Va. I think it's so incredibly smart from them, because you saw we were on the Mei's POV, and the Mei is so scared of the D.Va being there. They're so worried that if I throw this away, it's our win condition. I cannot throw this into defense matrix, and they're playing so scared around it that the Mei Blizzard doesn't end up getting any value whatsoever. It's just onto Shade, so really good presence of mind, I think, from Sheercold, understanding the win condition from Roar Esports and figuring out the best way to counter that win condition, which is putting Alex on the D.Va instead of the Sigma, because you have a better chance of eating that Blizzard.
One of the things that maybe you don't realize about in your ladder games, particularly lower ranks, is sometimes just the presence of the pressure is enough. It kind of cancels the ult out by proxy just by those players being close to each other. But as we move over into Sanctuary, we've got the Widow Tracer online for both teams here.
So this makes a lot of sense, what we're seeing from both of these teams. Widow and Tracer very prominent on this matchup. You have the Widow take the sidelines, and then the Tracer goes and pokes in the backline, tries to deal with the Widow, or in this case, Eli trying to deal with Alex on that Sigma. So you're going to see a 4v4 fight on the point, and the rest of the DPS are going to be around the point as well.
Rest out narrow, nets some couple of extra HP there. It's going to be Eli that gets the first pick here. Beautiful track on Lusa on the way down, can't secure the kill and gets pressured out by his opposite number. On board with Fuki, looking for angles, can't find anything just yet, but has bought enough presence for Raw to keep the point.
So the difference of what Roar Esports actually did there, instead of having the Tracer go and try and flank and deal with Rathan on the Widowmaker, Eli just goes onto the point and starts whittling down those tanks enough to where the kills can come through. Already has the pulse bomb ready and available. Teemo, not sure where they died. That is a little bit of an over egregious push, my friend.
It is a little bit too close to the incoming damage and puts them in a 5v6, and the second Fuki peeks Grathan. Grathan takes advantage of it, and Grathan with the second. Pulse bomb from Backbone Heroes too, and now it's Grathan toe-to-toe with Eli, forces him out. This is looking good for a flip here from Sheer Cold.
What a shot from Grathan. I mean, that was insane. Inhuman reactions right there. As soon as Fuki picks, you mention it, Grathan just takes his head up. And now Fuki gets the return pick. That's no Widowmaker. Fuki has complete control of any of these sight lines now, Phil. And this should be Roar Esports with the advantage they have right now. Pulse Bomb still available for Eli. They can make this work.
Of course, Eli was hoping for a bit of a sneaky play there, but the Infrasight's coming on board from Grathan. May have cut his chances a little bit. Now Eli with the pulse bomb looking for somewhere to stick this. On the ground, waits for the plugs to come through, but mistimes it. The damage wasn't there, couldn't find the connect with it. We'll see Backbone get the opening pick here as Fuki goes down, and it's going to be Eli up onto the high ground to try and pressure out the Widowmaker and rob her of a high ground control and pressure. But whilst all that's going on, the kills are coming in numbers from Sheer Cold, and Grathan will eventually get the upper hand over Eli. We're rounding the 50% mark here.
Grathan is doing so well under pressure here, Phil. I think every time Grathan is on these flanks, there's always Eli right there trying to do some damage, but they're still getting a lot of good kills and a lot of good shots. So Grathan playing this as well as you can against a Tracer who's just being a pest in your backline. As we see, Backbone has Pulse Bomb available. There's the Hulk.
Oh, there's the Hulk right into the waiting kinetic grasp. Naru knew exactly what Backbone was doing so close to the enemy spawn, and that is offline. Luckily, if you're a Tracer, those things, they tend to come back fairly quickly. But now, with the Supercharger on the point, and the answering Supercharger from Teemo, we're suddenly in massive amplification damage town for both of our teams. The Teemos will get taken offline by Backbone. So leave those ults waiting, turning out in particularly strong. Pulse Bomb comes out, Eli will get it even through the rewind, even through the halt, managing to find the kill. Roar Esports looking good for a recap here.
Esports it's gonna be around the last fight territory though moment for Sheer Cold where they have that 97% fill. What
Sorry, for a second there I thought they hadn't capped. I didn't hear the ping. My bad.
Oh, okay. They did. I was like, that would have been one of the most egregious C9s I think I would have ever have seen there, Phil. But they do end up getting the cap, so we're okay. We're just taking a little bit of a deep breath here. Rally's available for both sides. That means there is the sustain that is going to be the same for both. But Backbone closer towards that Pulse Bomb has that first damage potential.
That's right, it's going to be Rapid with the first one of these sound barriers, of these rallies. Naru went for the flux, but I think got rocked or bashed out of that one, so it didn't complete. In the meantime, though, Eli's going to get in and start to find the work. Admiral Raptor goes ham with the mace, and this guy has been in the kill feed a surprising amount for a Brigitte. Just the consistent damage and the aggression coming out from this guy. He helps secure the kill over his opposite number, and we are getting closer and closer to last fight territory for both teams here.
It is now the true last fight territory here, and through all of that, Eli was able to farm up their own Pulse Bomb. It's a battle between Backbone and Eli here. Who is going to get the better Pulse Bomb? Because even though Sheer Cold have the advantage with their tank ultimates, a Pulse Bomb from either of these players, from Backbone and Eli, can basically end the fight before it starts.
That's right. Well, Backbone gets in, throws the Pulse Bomb, but doesn't find too much with it. Now it's Grathan's turn to throw in the towel, even with the Pulse Bomb in onto their face. Fuki's able to find Backbone here as well. It's looking pretty good now if you're Roar Esports to take us to all tied up on Busan. There's the flux, the damage in that is phenomenal, and Roar Esports cap Sanctuary. We're on our way to Mecha Base to see how this map works out, Kenobi.
And there we did see a lot of the Widowmaker and the Tracers having a lot of impact. Fuki had some times where they were winning the Widow battle, and Grathan was as well. I think Backbone and Eli played extremely well on that map, as the Tracer was not only just checking Backbone, but also checking Grathan at the same time, as you can see at the end, where Backbone goes for the Pulse Bomb onto just members that are encircled, that are the tanks. Eli goes to the back line and takes out the Widowmaker, knowing that the Widowmaker is one of the most important parts of that composition in that map, takes them out, and from there, it's just a win for Roar Esports. So now as we go to Mecha Base, Phil, not a lot of changes that we're seeing. Fuki, I don't expect, are they going to stay on the Widowmaker? That is a gutsy play from Fuki, feeling themselves a little bit after that Sanctuary matchup. We'll see how it works here on Mecha Base. Does have some sightlines to work with, but not as many as it was when it was on Sanctuary.
I like this though. The fake out from the rest of the team allows Spooky to take this spot on the bridge and look for picks, but he gets spotted out very, very quickly here. But with the pressure he's providing, it allows Teemo to find the pick and take Rapid out of the fight. Now Fuki can get back onto the bridge and start looking for angles. This is looking great for Raw Esports. Even as Grafton takes Teemo down, I think they've done enough here to secure the first team fight win.
I mean, you can see how scared that Sheercold is of Fuki that entire time. Fuki really didn't do anything, just hit some pot shots, but Lucer was so scared of the Widowmaker on the other side that he's shooting the Widowmaker instead of healing his team, and some of the teammates die very quickly. And in these long, elongated fights with EMEA and things like that, it's going to favor Roar Esports, so well played from them and from Fuki.
Big Holt Rock and TNT combo coming in for Raw. Coming in for Sheercold, and it takes Zytor out of the fight. Fuki is still looking for these angles, but he's largely being denied them. Fuki will eventually get Grafton, and Backbone goes down as well, so there's the equalizer now for Raw. Admiral Raptor, again with the rally on board, able to swing the mace through. No fear at all of dying as the rally of the healing comes through. We will see 2 go down to Alex with the melee kill. Looks like a double hit on the melee kill, which is kind of an unusual thing to see. As the dust settles, it looks like Sheercold might have the numbers here, but they don't have them quite enough to secure a press in on the point.
And no one is looking at Fuki. They're just content in letting Fuki hit these pot shots from the opposite high ground, and they aren't winning the fights that should be in their favor in those 6v5s. So for Roar Esports, this Widowmaker pick is showing a lot of dividends right now. It's actually forcing Alex to go take the high ground away from where Fuki was.
Well, that's already the opening pick with Grafton taken out of the fight. We're at 64% to 0, and Sheercold have just not turned up to this fight in a meaningful way. Amplification Matrix and Supercharger stacked one atop the other. The Supercharger runs out and only secures 1 kill for the team. It's going to be down to Alex now to start to make these kills combine into something a little more potent. Grafton's able to find Zytor here, and finally, Sheercold have got the kills on their side. They are going to cap here, but it's kind of last fight territory. Raw win this next fight, they win the point.
Basically, and for Sheercold, I like that they finally wised up a little bit and they said, okay, we're gonna take Fuki off of this high ground. They sent Alex to the back line. They forced the Brigade to try and come save Fuki, and Alex hits them both with a nice flux. So you see Alex just, he knows. His spidey senses are tingling right now. He's waiting for Fuki to come through here.
Where would I be? Quite heavily spotted out. Going to see the Amplification Matrix trying just to buy a bit of space here for Raw Esports to allow them to get in. Naru's going to find Backbone. Immortality Field down now. This is a great opening for Raw Esports. They get out of the way of the Bob thrown in by Grafton, so that's going to be up on the high ground and not doing these guys too much value. Admiral Raptor once more with the shields loaded up on top from the rally is in a position just to be the one-man front line here for Raw Esports. They're coming back in and looking really good for the retake here. We'll be getting close to having the blizzard. Wow. Naru and Zytor getting kills here, and it's going to be down to Sheercold. It's going to be down to Backbone to stall this out, but they can't make it work. Here's the flip. One more fight from Sheercold.
Admiral Raptor has no fear, Phil. He's just going in. I will be the front line that we need. Just put so much pressure in 95%. Someone's got to touch here, Phil. We'll see what they can do.
Oh. That's a big halt, but it doesn't catch Rapid, who is able to Lucio speed boost his way onto the point and keep that contest going. But Admiral Raptor, with another rally, less than a minute after the previous one, secures the win for his team with the Supercharger in over the top. There's too much defense, there's too much offense, and Raw Esports are starting to make me doubt my prediction of Sheercold taking this one.
We might be having a second plate of Crow.
Oh, I'm so sick of Crow, Kenobi.
We've had a lot of Crow today, but Admiral Raptor, you guys can't see it, but play of the game. Absolutely phenomenal man mode Brigitte play coming out from them. No fear whatsoever, applying so much pressure onto Sheercold that Sheercold is always on the retreat, and that is cool to see a Brigitte getting so much value like that in these scenarios, in these enclosed fights. And full credit as well to Roar Esports for having the guts to keep that Widowmaker. Like we said, I was a little bit worried about it at the start, but Fuki did his job not only in getting some pot shops in, but they were also just they were doing something where just the pressure, just the idea of having this Widowmaker on the flank forces Alex to go to the other side, forces a lot of pressure and a lot of attention away from the 5v5 fight that you should be taking.
mirrors a little bit what you were saying on the first point on downtown of Busan. Of sometimes just having the pressure of a tank that can eat an ultimate like Blizzard is enough. Like that, you don't actually have to eat the ultimate. You just sort of put in the pressure, and then they are so cautious about using the ultimates that you might as well have eaten the ultimate anyway. The pressure that the Widowmaker provides is absolutely phenomenal here. And you're right, they didn't really need the picks because they just made it work almost in the neutral just by the threat of the Widowmaker.
It's actually really cool as well. Like we don't a lot about the talk about neutral fights and stuff like that. It's something that is really interesting and a cool aspect of Overwatch, where you just have this one person on an island away from the rest of the point is just taking shots, and then the enemy team's like, okay, well, if we position a little bit wrongly from that Widowmaker on the other side in the crossfire, we could just lose the fight because the Widowmaker's getting picked. So we have to play. There's so many more elements when there is someone like a Widowmaker on the other side giving you that crossfire option that makes it harder for the team against the Widowmaker. They have to think about a lot more stuff, and then the brain ram is going on, and it's a little bit too much for the brain ram to handle sometimes.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like we're starting to struggle with our brain ram. One quick thing I did want to throw in, we kind of waxed lyrical about how impressed we were with Admiral Raptor. The stat card that came up at the end that you guys didn't get to see, 90% kill participation for Admiral Raptor. So he's doing a lot for his team.
90, that's a lot. Actually, I didn't even see that myself, but whew, that means that is a Brigitte getting some insane amount of value. And also there were some times where when we were watching Admiral Raptor, and like the armor pack placement also very good coming out from them. So I'm very impressed with what I've seen from Admiral Raptor so far. You mentioned that they're a person that you have seen in a couple of the other tournaments. Now you're making me a believer a little bit, Phil. Like after that performance, I'm definitely a believer of Admiral Raptor.
Yeah, definitely something to watch out for. So the roster that I know Admiral Raptor from is they were very briefly on, I believe, the second generation Clockwork Vendetta roster. And they didn't really get the chance to shine. That roster sadly never lived up to the magic of the original Clockwork Vendetta. But now that they've got a little bit of space here, it's great to see what they're fully capable of.
And I wonder what happens on this map now for Sheer Cold. Is they played mostly, again, the Genji poke, which is obviously the main composition that we've seen so far. Yesterday, it's weird, they didn't play any Genji whatsoever because they were going up against Avoided, and Avoided doesn't play exactly what I would call the meta comp. So they did play more like they played McCree, they played Echo, and this is one of the first times that I've personally seen them play the Genji dive, and it looks, or Genji, not the Genji dive, Genji poke. It looks fine. But Admiral Raptor and the idea of Roar Esports keeping Fuki on this Widowmaker has really thrown a wrench in, I think, everything that they want to do.
It's interesting to me, looking at Route 66, that we seem to have regressed back to this hold on big O's being really where you want to set up. I feel like for a long time, we were seeing teams play up by cart to secure themselves that additional team fight if they happen to lose that first fight, but it seems to be working out quite well. It allows you to contest the cart quite easily here.
You see Roar Esports, again, not opting for the Genji, they're opting for Eli on the May. Well, that's already blown up, so maybe go back and switch to Genji, possibly right there, but Eli gets absolutely annihilated. Well played already from Sheer Cold, and that's something that I think they've actually done really well in the past. A lot of the combinations with Halt, from Shade, with Grafton, and with Backbone has been really good for them so far, and that's something I think they can lean on when we go through the rest of this Route 66, are those combinations that they have between that Orisa and the DPS.
So hopefully Sheer Cold there. Take a minute to collect those thoughts and coming back looking a little more confident in this one. We'll be looking for those key combos, and Backbone already starting to do some work here. 66% of the ult, and gonna chase down the enemy Orisa. Teemo just about getting out with their lives, and Backbone just about getting out with a Dragon Blade here. And that's this is looking rough for Eli. That's twice he's been picked off early in the fight.
That was a whip shot environmental kill too. That just can't be happening if you're Eli at this point. You have to be getting some value and staying in these fights long enough to use that wall. I mean, Phil, look, a minute and about 20 seconds has already been taken off the clock, and we haven't had a real fight yet. It's just been Eli dying first in a lot of these fights, and for Sheer Cold, you're just farming up your ultimates right now.
I think at a minute and a half, we maybe got to look at this Ashe and wonder if it's this May, and wondering if it's getting the value that it really needs to for it to succeed, because, you know, we've got the Bob, we've got the Dragon Blade, just comes online, finds one with the blade itself, Naru down, and that is a fantastic rally ultimate here for Sheer Cold, and even going to come out of that with 1/5 of the next blade ready to go.
And it's been 2 minutes right now that Roar Esports has been taking this attack, and Eli is finally going to get that Blizzard. But this is really their one shot at this, where this Blizzard has to really be big for them to have any sort of value coming out of the composition that they've picked right now. But you're going up against a ton of ultimates on the other side from Sheer Cold. You do have the Flux, you have the Supercharger, and you're going to have the defensive ultimates as well. So for Sheer Cold, you're in a pretty good position right now.
Oh, that is a beautiful Hulk Flux combo, and they're just able to turn the tap to max and pour the damage all over Raw Esports. Sheer Cold looking full-on revitalized right now.
Again, a very good halt from Shade, and that's something that we've known them for the entirety of these Contenders trials so far, and even going back to when Sheer Cold was playing in Contenders in general. Shade on Orisa, the pulls are just always so good. They're so big, 5, 6-man, 4-man ones that you really want to be having. And I like
This is very aggressive with the amplification matrix. Rathan able to find Fuki as well, and the aggression is not going to stop there. They push forward that little ways. They've secured the win in this team fight, and we're now down to below a minute, Kenobi.
This is so smart as well from Sheer Cold. They know that they don't want Roar Esports to set up in any way possible and make them comfortable. They take more time off the clock. So now, realistically, this is last fight, Phil, that we're going to have here. And it has to be off the back of these ultimates coming out from Roar Esports.
Oh, this is such a beautiful defensive position for that Supercharger. Very little chance of it getting knocked out, and all the damage in the world coming out for Sheer Cold. On top of it, we'll get the rally now from Admiral Raptor. We'll preload his team with armor, ready for this next engagement. Of course, they're going to have to come into Rapid with the answering rally. Eli and Zaito starting things off here finally for Raw Esports. Timo gets Shade, and this, in the final seconds of the point A defense, looks like Sheer Cold might finally have been dislodged, and Raw might get a crack at point 2.
Possibly here, Phil. It is going to be pushed into overtime. Shade has actually switched over to the Wrecking Ball, so that tells me they are going to try and come back and contest this. They don't have a lot of time, but Shade is there. He can do it.
Okay, yeah, fishes out the rock, knows that's no longer an issue, rolls through, but can't touch it, and feeds over a huge amount of ult charge to Raw Esports. That's really unfortunate for Sheer Cold.
That's unfortunate. I mean, you see the idea. They really wanted to try. They had Blade available too that could have possibly won that. Because I mean, if you look at Raw Esports, they don't have any ultimates to deal with anything with that Blade. So that would have been a really nice play. Backbone kills Fuki, and now I think Sheer Cold are going to be able to take control back of this game.
Yeah, they've got the man advantage. They can afford to press onto the cart here. Maybe they don't even need to commit the Blade with the numbers advantage they've got. Instead, they're going to take the high ground and look to pressure this down. Starting things off with the Bubble way into the corner. They're frozen out by Eli, but the damage is still there. We're going to see more ult invested here. Immortality Field comes out. Backbone's able to do the damage through that. It goes down, and there are the kills. Sheer Cold once more back in control of the payload.
Seeing Roar Esports, only a minute and 30 seconds left, which, I mean, obviously when you had that really rough offense, that's all you're going to be getting for this next point. Sheer Cold are now in firm control of the payload as well. That's a big pick onto Backbone. Roar Esports should very easily now aggress onto this cart. They know the Genji isn't there. That's a lot of damage lost for Sheer Cold.
That's a real backcracker of a pick in. Now it's going to be down to Alex to find some huge value here with the Gravitic Flux whilst they're at a man disadvantage. Instead, they're going to back away, take an angle, try and throw some damage in through the amplification matrix with the Halt combo. They will get the Immortality Field out, and now Alex knows for certain that that is not a problem he's got to deal with. This Flux is likely to get that little bit more value, but Admiral Raptor, once more, with the rally proc, with the armor there to keep him alive, starting to find kills. Backbone's going to go down. He's in, he's looking for his opposite number, but he can't quite find it with the passive healing and the additional healing in over the top from the Baptiste. Here's the Blizzard from Eli. Immortality Field is down. Timo, with the focus fire onto the frozen Shade, will start to secure a tank advantage here. And now it's up to Graf and Elusa to try and stall this out. They're not going to get it. With 30 seconds left to go on the clock, we're likely to get a recon test here for Sheer Cold.
And again, it's the man of the hour in Admiral Raptor, who once the Genji dives in and tries to get those kills, rallies, and then is able to get the kill off of the stun and the whip shot. So really well played from them. This time, Sheer Cold should be able to get a contest here. Supercharger committed by Timo, but Shade has one too.
This is such a good angle here from Fuki as well. Catches them on the way in, but it's going to be Grafton that finds one onto Eli with the bob on the opener. But there's just too much presence and damage available from Raw Esports, and as they trickle in, Sheer Cold are going to get knocked off this payload, and we're going to get a point C here for Raw Esports.
And you mentioned it perfectly, and full credit to our observer as well, showing us that angle that Fuki had. Really, really nice angle where they basically are untouchable in that scenario, and then can just pump out damage as much as they want onto anyone trickling onto the cart unabated. So really well played rotations and positioning from Roar Esports there as they come into this next third phase here. Fuki going on the flank. Are we about to see the flank bob, Phil? Are we about to see it? This is happening.
It looks like spooky, kooky flank bob into the back. The wall's going to come down. Backbone's going to try and do something to counter this here, but between the incoming damage and the immortality field, it's going to be difficult for him to make anything happen. He will get one tick, but he's already lost the entirety of the rest of his team, and we're now down below a minute. That payload has rounded the first corner of the final point, and Sheer Cold have to stop it here if they want to stop this going to a round 2 on their offense.
No one expects the flanking bob, Phil. No one expects it, but it ends up working out entirely for Roar Esports. They use a very expensive fight for them, unfortunately. And for Sheer Cold, with 30 seconds left, they can get this defense and stop Roar Esports from full capping, especially with Fuki going down.
That's right, and of course they've got the amplification matrix. They're about to get the flux online. It's looking really rough for Roar Esports right now. Down one player already. Fuki's going to swap over onto the Tracer, I assume, just to get this recontest going, because Roar Esports have to touch this cart to keep this going, and Sheer Cold do not want that to happen. There's the hold to drag them up, and they have just got Fuki close enough to keep this contest going. Immortality Field and Amplification Matrix now both spent. Here's the Gravitic Flux. Will look like it catches Naru and slams him back down into the ground. Down goes Teemo, down goes Eli. Backbone's the dash reset through onto Admiral Raptor. Will proc the blade in the final few seconds to take Sidesor out of it, and that is it. Stopped just short of a full cap for Roar.
And for Roar, I mean, based on how the first part of that map went, where it looked like they were very easily about to get full health, right? You definitely take the distance that you've gotten here. To getting those 2 points, based on how everything went beforehand and how bad it looked at the start, I see it as a complete win for Roar Esports getting it this far entirely, and really hats off to them for doing so, because again, they were about to be full held on first, Phil.
It came very close. It came incredibly close. I think it was kind of a clutch fight, and again, kind of on the back of Admiral Raptor here with the rally. He seems to be getting these so quickly, and they provide so much value. It's kind of like a sound barrier that just lasts for an extended period of time, especially when you can pretty much guarantee Admiral Raptor having one for the next fight. And you know, maybe at some point we'll stop going on about just how good he is on this role, but someone else has got to step up to take that place for that to happen.
I think the thing that and when we're on his POV for Admiral Raptor, and the difference between him and what I've seen from Refit is that Admiral Raptor seems to always be swinging. Just every time. Being so aggressive and not putting up their shield, and when you're swinging that much in such enclosed areas in fights like sometimes these are being, you're getting so much Inspire procs that you are, if the enemy Brigitte isn't being as aggressive as you and getting those Inspire procs, you're going to out-sustain them and you're going to win those fights, and that's what we're seeing a lot of the time from Roar Esports.
Looks like an interesting wrinkle here from Backbone. A couple of swaps. We got the Echo coming out and Repid over onto his comfort pick of the Lucio.
And I think this is also a comfort pick for Backbone specifically, that he's going to be playing this Echo. We did see it yesterday. Has a very capable Echo in their own right. I don't know how it works besides the Genji, because I think the Genji still offers you so much in terms of the amount of damage you can put out and the blade, but it's not too shabby to have an Echo as well that can sit in the air. It's really on the back of Fuki to put pressure onto Backbone in that air and not let him just do that.
Yeah, he's definitely looking for those big combos, but probably not going to want to push in too much more with Lusa out of the fight. Backbone now fishing for ult charge with the sticky bombs. Really wants to be looking for those combos with the Hulk to get maximum value, but he's not doing a bad job here of being a backline nuisance, if not maybe the assassin. And hey, look, it's Admiral Raptor in the kill feed again, Kanopa.
And I'm a little bit confused about how Backbone is playing this so far. It seems like it's being much more of a ground game instead of the air game that we usually see Echoes play, and at that point, why not just switch to the Genji? The Genji on the ground is going to offer so much more value, and I think this experiment for the Echo has completely failed, but now you're in a little bit of a hole when it comes to your ultimate economy, and you've already taken a minute and 15 seconds off the clock if you're Roar Esports.
A little bit further along in terms of ult charge for the tanks, but probably not worth using them if you get your DPS taken out quite so quickly. Looking really good for Roar Esports. And you know, should we take away the rest of Roar Esports and just see how Admiral Raptor does on his own?
I wonder if Admiral Raptor could 1v6. It's looking like it.
It's looking like
it's
it,
looking like it. Admiral Raptor. I mean, you can already see. Look at Refid. Refid is at 52% towards Rally. Admiral Raptor has theirs already. That just proves the difference in Brigitte play currently that we are seeing from both of these teams. And Sheer Cold, you're going to have to force out ultimates in this next, but you have to make a couple of eco pushes because you have to get your own ultimates and also force the ones out of Roar Esports, or else this is going to be pretty much a full if they don't do that.
Amplification Matrix out early from Raw Esports, and, well, surprise, surprise, I don't think he really got much value from the Amplification Matrix. Backbone's able to find Zyto here, so that's kind of a one-for-one trade, but Refid goes down, the Blizzard is going to lock them all in place, Alex gets focused down, Shade does survive through that, but it does mean that they're going to be staggered out here unless Backbone can start to find significantly more value.
Backbone trying their best. They don't have any supports left, though. That is the issue here, Phil. So a lot of these members should go down. The supports very close to getting back to Sheer Cold, but not quite just yet. And Backbone goes down, so that secures everything in that fight. And Sheer Cold, you have a minute left, basically. You have 6 ultimates. This is it. This is all you have. And this is, let's remember, this is match point because Roar Esports won that first map. So this is do or die right now for Sheer Cold. They are not going to get another ultimate rotation. It has to happen here for them. And they're going up against some pretty important ultimates from Roar Esports, like the Bob, like the Flux, and like the Supercharger, that can stall these fights out.
But look, if you want to go into a fight with 6 ultimates, then...
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Backbone didn't quite have it online. We're now down below 8 minutes. We did get the Bob committed by Fuki, and somehow Grathen is turning this around. A beautifully placed Bob combo with that Supercharger has finally allowed them to break this hold, and it was almost all down to Grathen.
Grathen does not want to lose right here, Phil. He does not want to lose. That was all off of the back of Grathen. An incredibly well-placed Bob and some kills mechanically from him wins that fight for Sheer Cold, and they are able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. And it was a pretty expensive fight for Roar Esports as well. Here's the rally, and Lucer goes down.
This is going to be a big recontest. Lucer down already. Backbone stunned, not close enough to find any value with the blade. Goes for a cheeky swipe, but can't find anything. And, I mean, do you want to just, like, replay this clip where I say that Admiral Raptor wins in the team fight? Because I feel like that's all I'm saying at the minute for Raw.
You know that on the kill feed when we see Admiral Raptor has killed Refid, just screen cap that, and that's the definition of this map so far. That is basically all we have seen is Admiral Raptor putting his absolute foot down on this entirety of the series of this map so far. He's actually in a position where he could maybe just like forego the entirety of Refid's charge. He might
Quite possibly. Yeah, it's getting very close to it. You know, I think in fairness to Refid, probably more well known as a Lucio player here, maybe not quite so comfortable on the Brigitte, but when you think of how well Sheer Cold has been performing, it's a little bit surprising that he's being so outclassed by Admiral Raptor. Oh, we're going to press go on a lot of stuff here. Grathen gets the opening pick. Zytor now down. Flux used. Blizzard used, and Fuki's able to find the double. Grathen throws in the Bob, hoping for a repeat of the last cap onto point A, but it's not going to work out here, as we're going to see all of Sheer Cold taken out of this fight at the 90-second remaining mark.
And if you look at it, Phil, the prophecy has been foretold. Admiral Raptor has indeed lapped Refid on his ultimate charge.
As the scriptures say.
As the scriptures say, and I mean, he's been playing so good, and I know we've been parking on it a little bit too much, but I mean, just the amount of value that they're getting from this Brigitte is so insane in these elongated fights. Backbone, there is the blade available for them, but on the other side, you're going into a lot of ultimates that you necessarily don't want to dive in if you're a Genji getting those kills.
I mean, look, I'm quite a fan of just using the Flux to isolate the Genji here, but he will start to find value. Now, Admiral Raptor, Zytor all down to the blade. Teemo's going to fall, and at the 1 minute mark, Sheer Cold once more find a way to crack the defense.
And you know what the best way to win those fights where they look unwinnable? Just kill them before they can use their ultimates, which is exactly what happens there. A really good halt combination with the Dragon Blade and with that Dynamite. There's just not enough sustain on the other side to deal with it. But it's a very expensive fight, all things considered, from Sheer Cold, because you are using that rally. You're using that blade. Roar Esports is coming back with the rally themselves and with their tank ultimates, so they are going to have a little bit of an advantage here. I like this window. It stops Roar Esports from aggressing onto this point gives Sheer Cold more time to set up, more time to let that cart move forward.
But Roar Esports know that they can wait this out. They know they've got the time there. Teemo will pop in the supercharger, but immediately taken out again by Graffen. Admiral Raptor once more with the rally running on the low ground with his team, looking to keep them alive through this. Fruity caught out in the middle of the recontest, and Backbone once more starting to do work here for Sheer Cold in the final minutes, takes out Fruity and Zytor. This is now looking very good for Sheer Cold to get us all the way to point C, but it will be once more in overtime.
This time it's Backbone who doesn't want to lose here, Phil. And Backbone, I mean, really well played from him, taking Fuki out of the fight completely, and then you get rid of that crossfire, you get rid of the AoE dynamite charge, and you can win the fight off the back and just have more damage with your DPS. So well played from Sheer Cold at the start. 1 minute and 15 seconds left. They just have to get that golden box of victory. Blade is available for Backbone, but Eli holding on to that Blizzard. It could be the thing that makes the Blade not worth anything.
You really want to hold on to this Blizzard for as long as possible. Get yourselves as close to OT as you can. Backbone with the deflect. Graffen's going to find Zytor, so already incredibly low here. Naru goes down to his own orbs, and that is it. Roar Esports just crumble under the pressure. Backbone didn't even need the Blade.
They get one more shot at this, Phil. Roar has to come back here. They have ultimates to work with. Bob is the main one that they can use to stall Cartmore. There's also the Blizzard. This could be Roar Esports' chance to hold it here and win the series.
This is looking bad. Where's the contest coming from? Looks like we will just get a tag on point by the Orisa, but Fuki's going to go down, and Backbone with the Blade swipes Zytor out of the fight. There's the Blizzard over the top of the point, but everybody is out of its encompassing hemisphere of frozen death, and that is it. Roar Esports vacate the point, and Sheer Cold take us to even Stevens.
I mean, what an absolutely gutsy performance from Sheer Cold on that map. It looked like, I mean, you're getting your rally charge lapped, and it's off the back of the DPS. And Graffen and Backbone had some of the most clutch plays I've seen this entirety of the Contenders trial so far. From that one A defense that they were or A offense that they were having, where at the death, Graffen hits a huge bob and then is able to get some kills off the back end of that. They continue to push, and get to the golden box of victory. Well played from Sheer Cold. I mean, it looked like it was over, Phil. It looked, I thought we were eating crow again, but
a couple of times it looked like, okay, that was it. But you're right, a couple of huge clutch DPS plays at every turn. Every time it got to OT, it looked like the push was going to go no further. They somehow reached deep down into the recesses of their carry backpack and found a way to make it work. And just as a corollary to the stat I gave you at the end of the last round, Repid in that fight coming up with the card for 80% kill participation. So, you know, not being too big of a slouch on that role either, despite what our commentary might have seen. We are just going to take a very quick break, guys, while we give our players a chance to flex their wrists, but don't go far because it will just be a 2-minute break, and then we'll be bringing you the final map of today's action. Hey guys, well, if it was match point before, it is double match point now. One apiece to Raw Esports and Sheer Cold as we move into what could be, potentially, barring a draw, the last map of today's games. Temple of Anubis, Big Hunger Film Kenobi still with you. Kenobi, based on what we've seen so far, what have we got to look forward to?
That's the thing is, I don't necessarily know, Phil, is that we've seen some variation from what Roar and Sheer Cold want to play. We did see some Echo. I hope we actually never see that again. That's something that I would like. I think Genji just is so much better right now in this meta than Echo ever could be. And for Roar, I think they continue, especially since it's Anubis, Phil. I think it's definitely going to be them continuing to play the Mei, because Mei on this map is really good, especially on that A offense, where you can use those walls very effectively and block people from incoming into that point and aggressing. So I think that's what I think I'm seeing from Roar Esports. And from Sheer Cold, don't change to Echo. Keep the Genji. It's worked a lot better for you so far. And my eyes are still on Admiral Raptor, who last match lapped someone in Brigade to ult charge. So that's they're still on my list of things to watch.
Yeah, I've started taking Admiral Raptor fan club signups on my Twitter if you guys want to go and check that out. We'll be accepting all incoming memberships. But I kind of like the dichotomy we've got here in DPS. You know, the Mei is incredibly defensive, the Genji is incredibly offensive, and there's going to be sparks when these two guys meet.
And so what you're going to be looking out here for the Mei against the Genji here is that the Mei is going to be able to wall off any incoming aggression, and they're going to be looking to separate the rest of Sheer Cold from themselves. You're going to have to really just quickly get into the area, get into Dark Room on that left side, and not let the wall hit you like they are doing here. Very well done. So they get through, no wall, they're all in there, they're all safe and sound. Now the real fight's going to begin.
He misses his jumper bomb to the high ground, but will still find some value with the TNT there. Up comes the wall, stops the line of retreat, and out comes the freeze. Alex is going to go down. Great play by Raw Esports.
Eli really clutches that fight with a really nice headshot onto Backbone, which kills him as the dynamite comes through, so there isn't enough healing available to keep him alive. Once Backbone is dead, Roar Esports very well knows that they could just aggress onto the entirety of Sheer Cold and win that fight in that enclosed area. So well played from them at the start. Not a lot of ultimates farmed up for either side. The biggest one is that Zytor is going to have his window before Lucer will. So that is something that aggressing into, if you're Sheer Cold, is going to be very difficult.
I mean, with how quickly that ult charges, we could be sort of seconds difference between these two ults. Coming online, Backbone separated out by the wall, has to use the dash reset just to get out and back to safety, and Lucer goes down here for Sheer Cold. Zytor now has that ultimate online and ready to go. Won't need it for this one because that was like a done team fight if ever I saw one.
Lucer, a little bit out of position there, goes down, and that's once, I mean, in these scenarios, once that Baptiste goes down in these enclosed areas, you basically lose the fight because you lose so much healing output. And Roar Esports on this defense looks completely in the driver's seat, Phil. 2 minutes have already been taken off the clock, basically. They're already close towards a lot of their key ultimates, whereas Sheer Cold, not many of them are being farmed up as quickly as they would have liked here, so Sheer Cold has to make some...
Well, out comes the amplification matrix, up comes the wall, down goes the immortality, out comes the TNT, and it is the Fuki show here on Anubis.
Well, turns out that dynamite through amplification matrix does a lot of damage. Who would have thought? That's a pretty significant amount of damage, and for Roar Esports, that's great because you win that off the back of only a single ultimate. That one window, you don't force out any others, so an eco push from Sheer Cold doesn't necessarily work out for them because they don't farm up any of their ultimates as well. So for Sheer Cold, this is not a good scenario for them.
Or maybe it wasn't quite as well placed as they would have liked as we see Sheer Cold rotate through it, but they are rotating into a world of pain. Any one of these ultimates can completely stuff up the rotation. They're going to avoid that, and they're going to try and just get up in the faces of Raw Esports and try and rotate onto the low ground. There's the wall, there's the blizzard, out comes the primary fire to get the brief freeze onto Alex. We will get the blade out here from Backbone. We'll find Zytor. We'll get Timo here as well. He might be on the verge of turning this around. Here's the bob out from both Pookie and Grafton. Backbone may not have done enough here, but Lucer finds Pookie's bob, and what is left of Raw Esports have to rotate to the point.
And respawns are going to be closer here for Sheer Cold, so they're going to be in the advantage. It just has to be stall tactics right now for Roar.
I mean, look, I was ready to call that done until Backbone pulled out the blade, and now it's looking good here for a point A cap. for Raw Esports. Sheer cold even, my bad. Raw Esports, not really anything left in this fight. We're going to see them wait and take this back up on point.
And I mean, it's again, clutch plays from the DPS of Sheer Cold, where Backbone gets a huge 2K off of that Blade in a fight that looked like it was completely lost after Eli had hit that Blizzard and gotten those kills. So Sheer Cold again, staying alive off of the backs of their DPS clutchness, and they're going to be trying to run into the second point here. Lux is online.
And that's where it starts. Alex gets stunned out of it, can't quite complete the knockdown onto it. And Admiral Raptor is going to find Refted, and once that is done, Raw Esports able to find the defense here, and it is going to be much harder now for Sheer Cold without momentum on their side.
A little bit of a reset too as well in terms of the ultimate economy in general for both of these teams. Admiral Raptor is the only one who really has an ultimate that's close enough that matters, because Rathan has Bob, but Bob it's a good ult, not the greatest of ultimates, and I think doesn't match up entirely to what the value of the rally brings. It does a nice ult accretion combo to start things off, and Backbone getting close towards that Blade. We've seen him clutch out plays with it before. What can he do when he gets it this time?
Well, Grathan also closing in on the Bob, and it's going to be great for just diverting attention, one of the most important resources in Overwatch at this level. We'll see Backbone into the back line. Takes the TNT, but his team is there to keep him alive through this. They've got the Bob, they've got the Blade, they've got the Amplification Matrix, they've got a lot of tools here. It's going to be Bob to start things up, Amplification Matrix for good value, and a nice firm encampment onto the
Oh no!
Backbone pulls out the Blade in range of Fruki. Coach gun. Grathan's going to find Zaitor. Timo's going to go down as well. Fruki in the back, looking for value with the range that their position is bringing them, but not able to find too much here. One tick already given over, and it's going to be down now for Raw Esports to just try and keep this contest going for as long as possible. The Bob gets knocked off the point, so that's going to be the second tick gain. Rounding in on the third. Timo in and out again on the Reinhardt, and a 1 minute 31 second time bank for Sheer Cold.
And Sheer Cold are able to, you know, save their blushes a little bit from a position where it looked like they were about to be full health completely on that first point. Able to get 2 takes with 1 minute and 31 seconds left. That's an absolute win for them, especially how the rest of the map was going. So that's really good for Sheer Cold. For Raw Esports, maybe kicking themselves a little bit that they weren't able to get that defense, because everything was in their favor there. They had a really nice Blizzard. It's just a really clutch Genji Blade from Backbone. That is the only thing that separates them from a full hold. And this is why I really didn't like the Echo in general, because Echo, you can't do that with. You can't have those moments where, at least this version of Echo, you don't have those moments where you can clutch out fights with something like a Genji Blade. You have a duplicate, maybe you get like a Mei or something like that, but it's not the same as a Genji. So I think with Sheer Cold, sticking on the Genji has worked so much better for them in general throughout what I've seen. Except on the defense here, which is interesting that they aren't going to be opting for the Mei, because I think Mei on the defense offers so much, like we saw with the walls from Eli. Maybe Backbone just isn't as comfortable with that character as something like the Genji.
Well, it looks like we might get that swap there. Admiral Raptor currently having a bit of a moment on the spawn doors there in the top right. Not entirely sure what that's about. Maybe some sort of pre-game ritual. And hey, you know, if it's working for you, buddy, you keep on doing it. But look Eli coming out with the Mei on the offense here now. Boy, you look at his APM on that one. Just,
I mean, he's a madman right there with the Brigade. And okay, so Eli is going to be opting for the Mei on the offense, which works a little bit differently as it does on the defense, because on the defense you're trying to section off members of the enemy team. This time you can use it as a barrier for yourself to walk through and get to those closed areas.
Ooh, boy, they took a lot of damage on the way in there, and Backbone, with less than 20 seconds on the clock, is already nearly a third of the way to that Blade. They can't afford too many more slow rotations like that. Gonna wait for these cooldowns to come back in and go into the dark room. Buki remains in the backline though, and very nearly takes Lusa out of this fight. And I love the angles that we're playing here. Eli's able to get in and start the freeze. Out comes the immortality field for Sheer Cold. This is a big opportunity for Raw. A lot of damage in, and they've already knocked Sheer Cold off the high ground. Backbone trying to get out of dodge, will just about escape successfully, but now this is a great position for Raw Esports, and as the amplification matrix comes through, they're going to be looking for kills. They chase Alex into the back and secure the man advantage. This point is 100% theirs for taking, as Naru throws in the kinetic grasp. Boom! He had the early play, but he gets TNT right out of it. Another man advantage now for Raw Esports as Admiral Raptor takes Shade out. Buki, uncontested, on the high ground, able to pepper in the shots, peppers in the damage, finds the TNT kill onto Grafton, and this is a blistering time bank here for Raw Esports.
That is a complete disaster from Backbone there. That blade was all that Sheercold had to make that defense. He pulls it out, but Fuki says, no, we are not getting clutched on again. You are not going to do this for a second time. And Roar Esports takes first point with 5 minutes in their time bank. And with the ultimates that they have, look at this field. They can very easily snowball this. They have the rally advantage. They have the Gravitic Flux as well. They can go on to this point, and they can get a very hefty time bank.
We've seen what Admiral Raptor can do with the rally here just to force his teammates to win on the back of their own damage without the ultimates available. But Backbone, with a beautiful play, gets into the background, will find Fuki in the middle of this rotation, and now Raw Esports are caught at a disadvantage, trapped between 2 incoming halves of Sheer Cold.
And I love this play from what Sheercold is doing right now. They're keeping them in the dark room, and Fuki at some point is going to have to rotate back. No. They know he's there. They're trying to get the spawn camp, and they're not letting them get the 5v6.
And of course, this position for Grafton is great because he has high ground control here. He can afford to keep this position that little while longer. We are going to see Sheercold we're going to see Raw Esports start to throw in ultimates, and it's already paying dividends for them as Grafton falls to Fuki. He has the bob, but so far it's not found the value you might want, and Sheercold are able to stabilize here. Might have been a little bit too early to pull the pin on that grenade for Raw.
I think I definitely agree with that, and I like what Roar Esports was attempting to do there, where they saw that everyone was trying to go and spawn camp Fuki and not let them in. They play a little bit more aggressively, knowing that the tanks aren't necessarily on the point, but it just doesn't end up working out for them there. And now it's Sheercold who have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to the ultimate charge, which is something we haven't said a lot during the entirety of the series so far. Roar Esports is walking into here with just the Blizzard and just the Supercharger. They win this fight off of the back of a very good Blizzard from Eli.
Oh, well, that is a beautiful combo, but the Immortality build is there to stop the follow-through damage. And an effective body block by the ice block there from Eli stops the follow-up damage. Grafton now, second up with the DPS ult, throws the bob into the back, has the TNT over the top, finds Admiral Raptor, and that is that push stopped dead for Raw Esports.
And I mean, really nicely played from the entirety of Sheercold there. They used the blade, force out the important cooldowns, the ice block, the immortality field, everything like that. And then Grafton has the freest bob of his life, comboed with a halt and a dynamite, and they take the fight there off the back of only 2 ultimates, so that's very good for them. Roar Esports keep their important ones, and Roar Esports, I wonder if they're going to just continuously go through this left side. I'd like to see them maybe make a different play, because I think Sheercold has the reads now that they're going through here. You can maybe walk it up mid, maybe walk it up through the right side. You do have a Mei to circumvent a lot of these areas.
You know, you kind of like to put the Mei wall down as a bit of a stoppage, or that's one way of doing it as well. Nice big combo through the amplification matrix with the Holt Rock. Backbone and Alex now both down. This is great for Raw Esports as they start to move their way onto the point. No wall available for them just yet, but the Blizzard will come out, really to stuff up any chance of any value being found through that amplification matrix. They're halfway to the cap. Gonna find Grafton camped in the back, effectively staggered out here. Alex down, Backbone with the dash. Reset finds Zaitor. Might have just bought enough time here for Shade to get in on the wrecking ball and really set this spawn going, but it's so hard to make this stall work in the face of a Mei. Backbone with the hero play, goes for the player but can't find it. Admiral Raptor with shot takes him out of it. The kills are here in spades for Raw Esports. They've just got to stop this recon test coming through, and this is their point. But Sheercold looking to burn as much time off the clock here as possible. May see us get close to an even time bank. There's the Flux coming out. Might just do enough damage here to secure the hold. Refid able to find Fuki here. There's the power driver that takes Namru out of the fight. Teemo gets the equalizer with Refid now down, but Backbone on the Doomfist finds Eli. And against all odds, Sheercold have found a way to stabilize here.
I mean, somehow, some way, and it has to all credit go to Backbone there. Backbone assassinates Zaitor, and once Zaitor is down on that Baptiste, you lose all of your AoE healing because the Brigitte has to go to so many different areas to stop the stall, and it's just another, again, clutch play coming out from these DPS players. Grafton has Pulse Bomb available to him. They have switched a little bit of their composition. This could end the fight before it even starts, Phil, and there's only a minute left. they don't get a lot of chances at this, do Roar Esports.
Even if it doesn't end the fight, it's almost certainly guaranteed to take that immortality field out of play, and the ability for everyone else to just pile the damage and get the kills on the back of that is going to be absolutely massive. There's the hole, there's the stick, Immo comes down, the damage was done, but that's all going to be taken back up again. Down comes the immortality field, and now Roar Esports, they're exposed. They're going to make the slow rotation around to the left-hand side one more time. They've got 32 seconds to make this happen. In goes Backbone once more, halfway towards having this blade ready to go. Sheer Cold are here, and they're ready to accept this incoming aggression from Roar Esports. Admiral Raptor with the rally one more final time in this fight. They go for the oopsie daisy, but in comes the Gravitic Flux. He dodges the accretion, he finds the slam, the damage is there. Raptor down, Boogie down, the immortality down too, and this is clean-up duty now for Sheer Cold. Roar Esports without a significant dog in this fight, but through the amplification matrix, they've started to find kills. Alex is going to get rid of Naru, and now there is the answering amplification matrix coming out for Sheer Cold. Alex finds the double here. We're in overtime. We've got less than half the tick to go before the cap comes in, and we're back into stall. We find the kill from Shade. Graffin coming in with a full spawn. Backbone with the blade. One more time. The whip shot from Redford takes Admiral Raptor out of the fight. There's the slash kill and the recon test in the final seconds. The ultimates from the DPS of Sheer Cold have done enough to secure this. They take the win 2-1 over Roar Esports.
Whew, I mean, what an absolute banger of a map we saw there from Roar Esports and from Sheer Cold. Sheer Cold, at the very death, are able to hold them off, and just an extremely well-played last fight from them. I really like the idea of using the Tracer Pulse Bomb to force out the Immortality Field and things like that, because that basically guarantees that the next fight is going to be that last fight, and unless Roar Esports wins that incredibly cleanly, the respawns are too close for Sheer Cold, and they're going to win the end up elongated fight. So for Roar Esports, heartbreak for them, but for Sheer Cold, what a way to come back after those first couple of maps and take this one on Anubis here.
This was honestly a lot closer than I really think anybody anticipated. Looking at this lineup, Roar Esports, they were sat at that fourth place, and not a distant fourth place, a fourth place that was distinguished by a 1-point map differential. So I was beyond heartened to see them able to push back in such a meaningful way against Sheer Cold. It's a shame they couldn't just find that last little bit in the tank to really push them over the edge. But I think both teams here deserve a break, frankly, and a huge round of applause for the ability to clutch out these team fights. And speaking, Kenobi, of ability to clutch out team fights, looks like we got Backbone coming in from Sheer Cold to talk us through this map. So, yeah, Backbone, welcome to the broadcast. Congratulations. Talk us through that final map, because that was a tense one.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a lot closer than I would have liked it to have been. And those last like 3 or 4 fights were just a complete mess that I'm still not sure how we won.
Okay, so talk us through a little bit about, because it looked like a lot of the times, or in some of the times, especially on like Route 66, where it was just like you guys were about to get full health, and then Grathen comes up with a clutch, you come up with a sick clutch. It feels like a lot of the times you guys are winning off the back of insane clutches by you and by Grathen. How does that feel? How do you guys do like such insane clutches like that? Because I feel like it's a thing that Sheer Cold has that not a lot of the other teams do.
I don't really know about that. I think if it's me and Grathen doing the clutching, it's only because the rest of the team's enabling us to do so. I don't know. Grathen's a really good player. I like to think I'm alright at the video game, so that's how we end up clutching it.
That's a refreshingly modest take on your success
very
here
humble
today, Backbone. Yeah, very humble, very impressive. One thing that I did want to ask, Route 66, again, was looking a little bit clutchy in places. What was the thinking behind the Echo at the start of Route 66?
It's something we started. We've literally not played it at all, pretty much. I think we played it once or twice, but it was feeling alright, but we've never played it into the EMEA or the way that they were holding it. So that's the reason we switched off of it really quick, because it just wasn't working out.
Okay, and one last question, I think, before what'd you get Redford for his birthday?
I got him the very gracious gift of my presents.
Like, oh, okay.
In a voice chat with him.
You got him a win too, so that's yeah, that's also an option. I'd take that. I'd take that. That's not a
Yeah,
bad gift.
I'd take a win in Contenders Trials. Looking really good. In fact, I think this win cements you guys going up into Contenders, so congratulations on that one.
Thank you.
Anybody you'd like to say a quick thanks to, a quick shout out before we close out the broadcast, Backbone?
I don't know, just everyone on my team. Like, even when we're getting like full health for 3 minutes, like there's still the belief that we can bring it back.
Fantastic. Right. Well, thank you again, Backbone. Go and take a minute to enjoy your well-earned victory. However, from those of us working at Monkey Bubble behind the scenes and in front of the camera, myself and Kenobi, that is, I'm afraid, all we've got time for today. But don't fear, guys. We've got one more day of Contenders Trials coming your way, and it's going to be the games tomorrow that really cement who we're going to see moving up into the July season of Contenders. So please join us then for more Contenders Trials EU action.